Hey, Deliverance Insiders, what's going on? It is Andrew Lowen, designer of Deliverance here, along with some of my best friends ever. We've got Chaz, Dan, and Adam all here. And really the purpose of this video is just to answer some of your questions. We asked in our communities on Discord and Facebook if there was one gameplay related question you could have me answer. However, we changed it to an us because that sounds more fun. What would you ask? So I was writing our Deliverance update and just sounded like a fun thing to roll with. And so here we go. So first question by David Kartsniel. How is the campaign in Council of the Fallen different than the original campaign? This is like very broad. It's like what type of difference are we talking about? But I mentioned gameplay. So I mean the way that I would address this one is that Council of the Fallen as a game, it assumes that you've played through some games of Deliverance already, and so that maybe you've beaten like the whole first campaign. But I would like we designed the game to ramp up a lot quicker, so that you kind of need to know how to play and how to win earlier
Mhm.
on in the campaign. Whereas the first campaign, over like the course of like the first four missions, you kind of learn all the various mechanics and whatnot. And then mission five is the first one that starts wrecking people, or five, maybe mission six. Mission two is going to start, ramping you, and mission three you're going to lose if you don't know like the fundamental mechanics of Deliverance. And so we are, now that we understand more of a gameplay wise how to use the campaign book and the prince cards and all of these other elements, um, there's a lot more that like a lot more depth in each of the campaign missions. Um, so I don't, the story's a lot longer. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot new elements, like you were saying, that we're adding to the gameplay. We took a lot of those ideas from the scenario book as well, with the event tracker and those global events that are happening during the campaign to really push players into thinking about different ways to solve the problem. And that's something that I think we are really hitting home on with this campaign, is not just we're going to fight the bad guy, beat the bad guy, win against the bad guy. There's a lot of different ways you can approach the different problems, and that's going to impact how you enjoy the story. And you have those global events that kind of throw a loop at you that's on top of the darkness deck. And that's really where a lot of that change was coming from in the base game, but now we have two versions of that in this new expansion, and I think that's going to make a lot of different game nights operate differently. If you play it with one group, maybe you don't even get to round four event, but you play it with a different group and you do, and that changes the whole scenario or the whole mission now. So I think that's a really fun mechanic that we're introducing to the expansion campaign as opposed to the base game.
Story wise, I'll add that you mentioned story, that the story is more dynamic than the last game. So there's a more rich and expansive story associated with the campaign, with more characters and more interesting situations.
Hmm.
Yeah, we
In
we
my
definitely,
opinion.
one of the criticisms of the first, like the original story, I would say, if I were to be critical of the first base game Deliverance, the story was the worst part of the game. Not saying it was a bad story, but it just was the least fleshed out, and it needed a little more time to bake. And really, it needed somebody. Ian was my editor, and he co-wrote the story with me in the first campaign. We did our best, but it felt like the feedback from fans was that it didn't delve as much into the humans and what was going on there as they wanted it to. They just wanted more. They wanted more. The people that love story really wanted more from the story. Myself, I'm not actually that much of a flavor text reader
Hmm.
naturally. I'll read card text if I'm if a friend has to get up and use the restroom while I'm sitting down at the table or whatever, then I'll start reading the flavor text in my hand. Or like in Deliverance, if it really matters, I'm like, I'm not sure if I should use a prayer action or not. I'll actually read the prayer card and be like, what do I think that does? Is that going to help me? But the expansion really dives deeper into the mortal realm in particular, and how and
Yeah.
what's going on there, and how people are being impacted. And we really kind of are taking a lot more time and space in the campaign book, and just giving more room for story
It
and
also
for
has
those.
branching paths, just to say.
Yeah,
That's
that's another
okay.
thing.
Yeah. You have a
It
choice,
does.
and you cannot do all the missions in one
Yep.
run, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's even a secret
Yes.
mission, isn't there?
There is. There is.
Shh, I'm not
Oh,
supposed to talk
sorry.
about that.
That's secret.
There's it's funny you mentioned that, like, not really reading the lore or reading the text. I remember the first time I got the game, I spent more time reading the backs of the cards of like the different demons, the different angels, and the prayer cards than I did actually playing it. And everybody would always be like, "Hurry up, take your turn." I'm like, "Hold on, I'm reading." It's like I want to know about the lore. But I think that's such a cool dynamic shift from when Adam and I took over the scenarios and the campaign missions, because part of the way that we were designing those was to have that story in mind. Like, what feeling does this invoke? How is it going to make people imagine what their angel is doing in this fantasy we're creating? And we really tried to have that inform a lot of the decisions when we were designing the math behind it, the mechanics behind it, the story behind it, to make them all work together. So the story isn't just you read this thing and then you go fight the boss. It's like you're reading about this thing happening, and that actually translates over to the mechanics that are happening too. And
Yeah.
so
It's like you
that's a
read the
really
story, then you play the story,
right,
right?
right.
I always loved that. I felt like I remember back in the day when we first started working on Deliverance, Adam, it was just Adam and I. We were working on these event cards, and we did a little bit of
Mm,
story, and we've since, like, long ago, we cut that mechanic, but it was like I wanted some story that would help explain what's happening, and it just kind of got in the way, like, while you're playing the game. And we ended up cutting it, and I found that the emergent story, the stuff that just you kind of the narrative that's going on in your head while you're just playing a game at the table, that is the most interesting story of all. It's like, oh, Bale came out and we fought him and this and that. But the so we really have leaned into that quite a lot in the campaign, and everybody loved it. It was the the biggest win of the original base game of Deliverance. We played thousands of games of the skirmish mode of play, and then I felt like I built the campaign just to kind of feature cool situations that you might find in skirmish, and to highlight, elements of bosses. And it was just the number one thing everyone loved. They just felt
Yeah.
like they were actually playing the story, which was cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, we leaned
There's
pretty hard into that.
There's actually a really cool thing that Dan recommended that we do to the event tracks that I have been absolutely loving. It's adding these like little 1 to 2 lines of text that the boss says to you as you're playing the
mm.
events. It's so thematically cool. Like, not only does it help you remember, like, oh, I want to see what he says in round two, because and to go back to the event track, but it's this like it feels like the story is ongoing throughout the mission.
Yeah.
It's you're doing it, you hit him a bunch, you punch him in the face, and then he's like, "Oh, you think that's all I have?" And then he powers up and does a cool event. It's very, very fun, and it's been one of those things that I enjoy. So that was a thing that Dan introduced to us, and it was really, really cool.
That's awesome. And that's something that it doesn't get in the way of the story or of the gameplay for those that
Mhm.
aren't like super into it. But I
Right.
want to say there's like 10% of Deliverance fans that, like, that's all they care about is just a really good story. And I think that this should really delight those people without getting in the way of everyone else. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
I
all right.
agree.
So now let's move into Discord, a guy named, well, Discord handle Catholic Soldier asked, how does a typical gameplay round unfold? Because he's never played the game. He said I could just look up the rule book or watch a video, but he said seeing it written out would be cool, but we're gonna tell you. So how does a typical gameplay round unfold?
Yeah.
I mean, I could just
Might depend on the angel you're playing,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
maybe.
really does. I guess it depends on the angel and who you're fighting, but a general round will be set everything up. Sometimes there's an event at round one, so make sure you do that
Yes.
before you do the darkness and everything. There could be some wacky events that happen right at the beginning of the game that you want to be prepared for, but events happen. Then you take care of the darkness. which is setting out that global, events that aren't on the event track. So sometimes it makes you take some damage or gain an affliction. Um, Really cool things in that deck that you'll have to explore on your own. Then you fight the demons. You and the angels take turn duking it out. Then you level up
With
if
the
you're in
demons,
skirmish with the demons. Yes,
not with each
not
other.
amongst each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then you
Yeah, and
just
then
go all over again. It's a really tight knit system that allows for a lot of different things to happen.
yeah, there were a couple of things that I designed. I designed the system to make it so that if you just press your strongest attack, you lose almost every game.
Mhm.
Because there are these things that you can't deal with your sword, called darkness cards that you have to deal with through prey action and other things like that. And these darkness, what I find, like the very first time somebody ever plays Deliverance, a lot of the time, they're different personalities, but a
Mhm.
lot of the time they're like, okay, you're going to put one darkness card face down so you don't know what they do per player, is kind of how it works out. But then you fight the demons and everyone just like feels super strong right from the very beginning. They're like, I'm just whomping these demons as Michael the Archangel or whatever. And then they spend all their energy and focus on the battlefield, whooping the demons, and they're doing so well. And then the next round comes along, and another a huge string of darkness cards come out because they didn't protect saints or even think about the darkness cards that were already on the board, and they just get smashed, and they're like, oh my goodness, we are going to lose this game if we don't help, or if we don't deal with those things. And
Mhm.
it kind of reminds me of, I'm sure you guys have played Pandemic, right?
Yep. Mhm.
The feeling when you're first playing Pandemic is like, oh, these disease cubes are going in this city, that city, and the other city. That's fine. What's this epidemic card? And you read the epidemic card, and you're like, okay, do these things here, there, and elsewhere. And wait, the cities that I just played are going on the top of the deck in random order. It's like this is all of a sudden you freak out. You realize
Yep.
like what deep trouble you're in, and
And never
that's
mind if you forgot to like take care of some of the cubes that are overflowing because then that's going to spread it.
yeah. So it's this moment where I would say it's kind of like a magic moment in that game where it's like, oh my goodness, we're in. It just adds to that level of like intensity and
Right.
tension, right? And I think that the darkness and the way that darkness interacts with like the tactical combat, and the fact that you have to kind of manage both, but you don't have enough resources to effectively manage both. It's like pick your poison kind of thing.
Right.
You just have to manage each enough and survive through it. It really adds a lot of weight to each decision you make, and that's kind of how a
Mm.
typical round goes. So
Yeah.
very easy first round, you're just smashing everything, and the darkness fights back, and your goal is to survive.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance between, what the angels can do, what the darkness does to you, if you're going to decide to go towards saints, or if you're going to hang back so you don't take a bunch of damage. But there's a lot of different ways that the battle can unfold in between each of those little rounds.
Yeah.
You're
So
really close to being defeated. When you go into the battle, you
Hmm.
have to think, I'm really close to being defeated, even at full health,
Yeah.
even at like max resources.
I mean,
Just,
you feel so strong like the whole game. You're just like, oh, I'm
yeah.
just whooping.
But then like boom, then all of a sudden, oh whoa, I was
Mm-hmm.
this is actually a pretty difficult fight, and I have
Yeah.
to pay attention to what's going on. But yeah,
So you
Yeah.
never really know what's going to happen. The demons, for you Catholic soldier, since you haven't played the game before, the demons roll for their actions. You as the angel can choose what you're going to do and can plan, but the demons roll a six-sided dice. They choose what they're going to do based on the game's, choice mechanic, and something that you're thinking of. I'm going to make sure that we're going to take out all these really low-level demons. Oops, he rolls add 5 darkness cards to the board. And it's like, well, that completely changes everything I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I guess we should
Priority.
take care of the darkness. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of different choices.
The demons will work together to fight against the angels. It's really interesting
yeah,
how
it has a
that
very
unfolds.
robust AI,
Yeah,
Hmm.
the
like an
system
AI
is
system.
Yeah, the system is kind of meant so that a lot of the time, your best laid plans have to change.
Yeah.
And what I never really liked about dungeon crawl type games, so this is more like tactical skirmish, a little bit of dungeon crawl RPG feel going on in Deliverance. But what I never really liked was like when I have a strategy and a plan, and then like 5 turns later, I'm able to execute just like I thought. It almost takes the fun out of it, where if you're like, okay, I'm going to, you say, Lord willing, I'm going to go protect that saint and then, knock that demon out or whatever. And then something happens where maybe one of the masked evils pulls you in the opposite direction, making
Yeah.
that plan that you had impossible. Um, Now you've got to figure out on the fly what you're going to do instead. And it might mean that you need to tag, a buddy and be like, I know I was going to be the one to defeat that demon and protect that saint, but I can't anymore. So I'm going to do this instead. Why don't you focus on that or whatever? So it's there's a lot of collaboration that happens, a lot of talking between the players and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
um okay, so how about okay, so someone Discord tag Omega 42 asked, he wants to know more info on how the new game flow works, doing so playing two angels at the same time and having an additional player. So this kind of uh the question relates to the new rules that we put in for 4 and 5 players simultaneous play.
Yeah.
So the actual flow of the game normally, so you deal with events, then darkness cards, then you have your actions. And during the action phase, you alternate actions between one angel gets to choose or gets to take their turn. Then the first demon in initiative order goes, and then the next angel goes, and so on until all the angels and demons have acted. Well, simultaneous play is for 4 to 5 players. We found that this actually makes 4 and 5 player games end within 2 hours, which is wonderful. That was really the goal. It's what number we printed on the box. So 4 and 5 player games, what you would do is like when the actions roll around, the first 2 angels in initiative order get to act at the same time. So it's like Chrono Trigger double text,
Hmm.
like you and Frog can do the X slash together. I don't know, but it's like I can use one action and then you can use 2 actions and then I can use my last action and we all do our stuff at the same time. And there are some really simple rules to govern, if there's a tiebreaker in that way. Um, and then after both angels have taken their turn simultaneously, the next 2 demons in initiative order act one after the other. So it's real simple. You look at it's like meddling imps and then masked evils. Okay. So you look at the meddling imp and what that card does and just follow the directions on their character card. And then now that turns over. And then the masked evil, same exact thing, follow the directions on their character card. That's over. Then the next 2 angels, again, act in initiative order. And then the next 2 demons, one after another. And all the way until all the angels and demons have acted. So it's fairly straightforward. It plays really well. And originally, actually, this is extra info, but back in the day, it used to be like all the angels would act at the one after another. Then all the demons would act one after another. And I had been very hesitant to have angels, like too many angels acting at the same time, because it made the game feel really swingy when you had 4 angels go and in a row, and then all the demons had to act. The demon actions had to be so high powered and such high damage that if the 4 angels eliminated half of the demons, that the demons could still threaten the angels enough to fight back. And thankfully we switched to the angel demon alternating actions, so you didn't abominations didn't have to deal 10 damage a hit. Assuming you were going to defeat one of the abominations, the other one had to be alive to at least make the game feel tense, and so now, we went to this simultaneous play and it works out so well. It doesn't make the game feel lopsided in any way. There are different things you have to focus on, like the darkness deck. That the darkness cards, like playing at 2 player, feels so different than at 5. It's really, really different. And it's each like player count is rewarding in its own way. So.
And you got rid of the roll to move.
Oh, that's
I'm just kidding.
roll to hit.
Yeah.
Roll to
I
hit.
know. That's the
Roll
joke.
to move.
Yeah, roll to move. No, you did have roll to hit for a little while, but I thought
Yeah.
saying roll to move would be funnier.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
I will say that the simultaneous play in the 4 and 5 Angel games, when we introduced that to the skirmish play testers and the campaign play testers, I'm actually going through a campaign play test right now with 3 other play testers, and so we're doing simultaneous play to make sure we can get through that in a reasonable amount of time. Um, the combos that I have seen people pull out is so cool where they're like, I'm going to do this action, and then you're going to do this action, and then we're both going to use our double actions, and I'm going to push this guy into range for you, and you're going to hit him. And it's so satisfying to see executed. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't feel overpowered. It doesn't feel like these guys are
and it doesn't take
completely
like 20 minutes a turn or something.
right.
It's like it's
Yeah.
quick.
And it all happens just like that. It's really cool. It's really, really cool.
That's awesome.
was part
So
of that question about the playing angels two-handed or playing the intercessor, or was that not a part of that question?
no, so they were talking about two angels at the same time. We can maybe
Okay,
address
gotcha.
that later. Let's
Yeah.
see. The next question is from Kythus, Discord handle. He asked for a sneak peek of a new boss mechanic.
Sneak peek at a new boss mechanic.
Yeah.
Which one?
Dan, since you've been a little quiet, Dan, what new boss mechanic are you excited about?
I don't know what we're allowed to say.
So let's put the only thing on that we're not allowed to talk about would be things that we're putting inside boxes.
Okay.
Okay. Oh
So
man.
like anything in the campaign is open unless the
So
content comes from a box.
I would say Tortulas has me pretty excited.
Yeah.
Um, his abilities come from a deck of cards. So every turn is drastically different. It's not your typical work your way from item B down to the bottom of the card and then you roll an ability typically. His is you pull out a deck and you start just pulling card after card after card, and you don't stop until the deck tells you to stop. And it could result in a turn like, okay, that wasn't so bad, or it could result in a turn where you're all left basically dead. It'd
Yeah.
be very scary and swingy, but there's enough mechanics in the fight still where if you position properly and you have the right people in the right places, you don't still just get one shot. But as those cards come out and you kind of learn how to deal with each card, it kind of teaches you the fight to kind of set up your team in the right way. So depending on how the cards come out, you're not just completely butchered by this guy.
Yeah. It's like that there's a card that he's got that pulls you toward him. And then
Yeah.
there's another card that he has that like explodes out. So, and then there's a certain card that will tell you to stop drawing after that particular effect.
Yeah.
And then there's another that will reshuffle the deck. So let's say you draw one card that pulls everyone toward him, and then another card where he punches somebody, and then another card that pauses. If you've played the fight that he's going to explode. The next time he's activated, he's exploding. We all need to run. But then let's say another turn, vice versa. Let's say the explosion happens. That like being next to him is safe, comparatively.
Yeah.
Without getting really specific, it should be a very fun fight. But yeah, we have this conviction. So Tertullus comes from actually the story of Tertullus is in the Bible where Paul is arrested and brought before like the Roman authority, and there's a man named Tertullus that is like an expert orator that can speak very well. He's very eloquent, that the Jewish leadership at the time hired to speak against Paul, and that's where this fight came from. So we kind of made him a little bit like a prosecuting attorney
Hmm.
that is convincing and smooth and whatnot. And
But he cheats a little bit.
yeah, and he cheats. Yeah. His he gains more and more conviction over time, where he starts to go mad, and his conviction actually causes more damage. The angels will get dealt more damage over time. So one of the things we always think about are I call it the enrage mechanic because that's what they call it back in like MMOs, where a boss, like if you just fight the boss long enough, you should all eventually die. Like there has to be some sort of time limit that makes it so that the fight will end one way or another. Like either the angels win or the angels lose. But what we can't have is for the angels to drag on for like 15 rounds and have no end in sight where you're dealt 10 damage and then you heal 10 damage and then next round is just going to happen again, right? So if you're dealt 10, the next round you should be dealt 11, the next round you should be dealt 12, and then eventually it's just too much, right? And his conviction mechanic is really, really, really cool about how like just as he runs his engine, as he goes through these cards, he gets more crazy. And that impact, like sometimes like in the beginning of a fight, that really short turn where he draws the one card and does very little, it's like, ah, yes. But at the very end, it's devastating. It's like, oh no,
Hmm.
he's going to do that again. Like shuffle the deck back, he could do that again. And so you kind of hope for certain cards and dread others, and it switches depending on like how long you've been fighting. And so very fun.
Yeah. I have one, but I want to hear what your favorite new mechanic is, Adam.
Oh, for a prince
Yeah.
Prince
or
or
just
lieutenant?
just a
Any, yeah.
lieutenant.
Could
Boss.
be
Hmm.
Yeah.
scenario book, could be
Yeah.
Scenario book too.
So what I'll say is Chaz and I both took our hand at this and we made two separate missions that have very large um I don't know how to put it, content heavy bosses that are very big that
one boss covers the whole page.
yeah, one boss
Yeah.
covers the whole page with a lot of what's
Like
the term?
Different
abilities and
phases.
Phases. Yeah, basically like you'll have like different combat phases depending on what's happening. You'll switch from phases and stuff back and forth. And I think that was a really fun idea we had and something that we were able to do as long, and also, I'll let if Chaz wants to, I'll let him talk about his like special thing that he has going on. But but that's probably my favorite are the giant full page bosses that
Yeah.
lieutenants that
it's awesome.
we'll have
That
to
kind
deal
of just
with.
comes from understanding how to use the assets we have in the game. Like the campaign book is 7 inches wide by 10 inches tall. What if we just printed a whole boss on one page? It's not like, Deliverance, when you make like a cardboard thing, it has to be a standard size because the cardboard has to fit, along with all the other cardboard items. And but we can get really creative with a campaign and scenarios, and so that's pretty
Hmm.
cool. So Chaz, you have one.
Yeah.
I don't know if
The
you want to talk about your thing or not.
I think I'm gonna hold that one a
You
little
haul
close
out?
to the
Okay.
chest a little bit.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
What Adam is referring to is what we are calling code name Deliverance Expeditions. We've mentioned it every now and then, what it may or may not be, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be in the scenario book. There are three scenarios that are all a part of Deliverance Expeditions. And you'll just have to find out what that is when you get there. But for me, my favorite mechanic, we just play tested it just the other day and got it to a really, really nice spot, is Vezek. He
Mhm.
is one of the bosses in the campaign, and his code name is the Prudence Gambler, because it is using the prudence mechanic that we're introducing into the game. And one of the challenges that Andrew had set for me when I was making the campaign was to find a way to take what we have, like Wither, Gloom, Blight, and make it interesting and change the way players are going to approach it. And so I got through all the afflictions. I was like, well, we have prudence. That's a new boon that we're getting in this mechanic. How am I going to make something out of that? That's a good
Share real
thing.
quick what prudence is,
Yeah. So
as a
prudence is
starter.
Yeah,
is a really,
prudence
really
is
cool
pretty
boon.
fun.
What it is you gain it and you're able to re-roll any dice
A
once,
single die.
a single
Yeah.
dice. So whether that's on a prey test, whether that's on a demon's turn, whether that's you have to roll a dice for an event track, you can re-roll that dice once, and it's very, very cool. And so this mechanic for this prudence gambler is he's going to make you roll a lot of dice, and he's going to try to trick you into spending your prudence at a imprudent time. And so he is this gambler, like casino cheat that's trying to really fix the dice in his favor. And he's gonna make you have to beat him at like an all-in Texas Hold'em showdown, or he's gonna try to roll doubles to win, no matter what, even if it's double ones, he's gonna win on snake eyes because he's a cheat. So it's a really fun mechanic of just kind of bending Deliverance's rules and components just enough to be interesting and different, that it makes it feel very, very fun to play. Dan and Andrew and I played it just the other day, and we were laughing and trying to be like, "Oh no, we were just short by one," and it was a very fun fight. So I'm looking forward to everybody playing that guy.
Yeah, there's the one. I mean, that was such a memorable fight. I still think about it, and I'm really excited for people to experience it. But there's this one ability that he has called "The House Always Wins,"
Hmm.
and every angel has to test at the table. And if any of those angels rolls doubles, then all the angels pass. But if no angel rolls the doubles, then all the angels fail.
Hmm.
And that by itself was so cool. Even the name of the ability, the house always wins. It's rare that you're going to roll doubles, and but possible, right?
Yep.
And if you want to, you can spend that prudence. Oh, I got a 5 and a 2. I'm going to try to re-roll one of those to match the other.
Yep.
Maybe it's not the best idea, but maybe it's really important. And
Yeah.
there are a bunch of different other things. I mean, I don't want to spoil all his mechanics, but it was a very memorable fight. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's definitely one of those fights where you're gonna have people around the table and they're like, "Should I do it? Should I take the chance?" And you do, and you get what you need, and everybody's gonna cheer. It's very similar to like, should I do the pray test or should I beat the guy? And it's like I can do some damage, or I can pray and get the exact thing I need. And you pray, you reveal it, and it goes, "Oh, we got it, we win." It's very much like that. It's very, very fun.
yeah. So, okay. So next question is asked by Discord handle Cogger. What are your favorite gameplay mechanics that are currently unused? What was the idea, and why did you choose to move away from it? Um,
Hmm.
Chain
I'll
lightning.
say, but it's back in
Chain,
now.
it's back in, yeah.
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 Um, there's this one mechanic that I've looked to try to implement over and over again, and we keep cutting it. It's I call it the Prince of Persia mechanic, where you are able to kind of rewind time, and
Mhm.
you're dealt.
Yeah.
So the concept is I made an angel that would be dealt any amount of damage, the angel would live. And then at a certain, the damage would be placed in like this nebulous zone. And at the beginning of his next turn or the end of the turn, that you would have to shuffle some of that damage during the turn, you'd have to shuffle some of that damage to the main character's card. And you couldn't really heal when it got to your main character's card. You only have 5 health. So if too much of that damage moves to you, you are defeated. But you can maybe reroute the damage that's in that nebulous zone. So you take damage, you can maybe channel it into and transfer it to a demon. You can heal yourself and other things like that. But I cut that character so a long time ago before the original base game of Deliverance. And then we had this more recently on our secret angel that we haven't revealed, that you'll discover in the campaign. One of the talents functioned the same way, where instead of taking damage, you put it on that card, and then you get to transfer some of that damage to the main character. And we cut that recently because it didn't really fit with his kit as well, but it's highly it's just a mechanic that can be abused so
Yeah.
It's
easily.
a really neat idea. It's a really
Yeah.
fun idea of like, oh, I've taken enough damage to kill me, but instead of dying or being defeated, I'm putting it over here and
Yeah.
I still get to do things. And that's a really fun idea, but
It,
lots of potential for abuse and
yeah.
issues
Yeah.
and things. Just couldn't make it work.
Breaks
Yeah.
encounters very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, actually, you were the one that was like, know you love this, but we got to cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was it was very hard to use, but if you knew how to use it, it was broken. But if you didn't know how to use it, it was useless. So we couldn't get it in that right spot where it just felt satisfying to use every time because it was either you're going to cheese and break the game or you're not going to know how to use it at all and it's just not going to
Mm-hmm.
serve any purpose.
Yeah.
So we got to build a larger, robust kit around it to make it function in the way that it's intended, and not just a one little paragraph on a talent card, but then make talent cards that can buffer it in different ways and make use of that nebulous space that you're talking about in a really creative way versus just kind of an afterthought thing added into an angel. So
Yeah.
if we make a whole kit around it, it could for sure be done the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Um,
it's,
oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, like, moving to a different mechanic that's kind of similar is like the renew mechanic,
Yeah.
which is also a fun mechanic that we wanted to use but weren't able to because it would trivialize so many encounters. And
Yeah, the
but
renew is basically like a reverse wither. So wither is an
Mm-hmm.
affliction in the game, negative status effect that you're dealt 1 damage at the end of your turn. But renew is you heal 1 damage at the end of your turn, or maybe at the beginning or whatever we hit. It's cut, so we're not
yeah,
sure.
I can't remember
Um,
exactly, but
but back in the day, actually, I was working on Raphael, which is a big named angel that everybody. It's probably the number one question I'm asked
Yeah.
is like, when are you going to put in Raphael? It's like, well, I've tried, I've put some stuff together, and it's just not the right time. I feel like that angel needs
Yeah.
to be like a headliner angel, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you can get Raphael if you buy this box, and just like a big deal. But he was originally this character that was going to um, stack renew on himself, and that's how he healed. I thought of, if you guys listening are familiar with World of Warcraft, druid has heal over time abilities, and one of them is called life bloom, where you stack this very low heal over time on yourself multiple times, and it becomes a very strong heal. Then you consume that to do something for like a big heal. And so my thought was, you put a bunch of healing on yourself and then you consume it to deal damage or whatever. But it's actually just more effective to heal 3 every round and just leave it forever.
And we have
Yeah.
an angel that we developed that kind of sort of does something similar, which is Juan. I think is just kind of
Yeah. His
doesn't.
incense.
Yeah, the Juan's incense is kind of almost renew-ish, or like kind of it feels like a druid to me. Maybe I'm completely out of line, but I always think of Juan as like a kind of a druid character when I'm playing him. But
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Uh,
What do you think, Chaz?
my favorite mechanic that I've taken a stab at several times. I have several iterations of this guy on InDesign. I call him he he kind of turned into the Twins of Chaos, but he also shares the same name. He was like it was based off of the theater mask, where it's like the frowning and smiling face,
Yep.
and the demon's character card would be split down the middle, and you'd have this demon that would swap between being the frowning demon or the smiling demon, and they will like swap themselves off the battlefield, have different health pools, and the one side would be for the smiling demon, one side would be for the frowning demon, and they would do something on one side that affects when the other twin swaps in. And it was just very complicated to get two demons working together. We've kind of have that working with the actual name, the Twins of Revelry, in the campaign. I won't go into that. You guys have to experience them on your own when you get there. But that mechanic slightly turned into them. But this idea of a split character sheet for a demon where, when they're in phase one, they do something, but when they're in phase two, they don't, was really cool. We kind of have that with Zero too. But I can't figure out a way to make it work where it's all on one character sheet and, they do something together. That's something that I've always been interested in trying to make work.
Yep.
One thing I'll just speak to real quick, just about kind of the philosophy of why we would cut something. It's not always because we don't like the mechanic or think it
Hmm.
works with Deliverance. A lot of times it's because it doesn't work with a particular character's kit.
Hmm.
But then why not just, make a character's kit who does work with it? a lot of that has to do with the lineup of characters that we have for this individual game. So for
Right.
Council of the Fallen, it just wasn't the right game to have another character with that renew mechanic because we had Juan, who's got a mechanic that is already very cool, supportive, a
Hmm.
new type of way of healing on the game. So adding in another character with a new way of healing just doesn't fit with this current package. So a lot of it isn't necessarily about like, oh, we just don't like this mechanic and it just doesn't belong to Deliverance. A lot of it is about like, what is the overall cohesive package of characters that we're presenting to you? And we don't want to make lean too heavy into one character archetype or another. We want to make sure that, for those who want a really complicated character they can really number crunch and get into, there's that for you. But for those who just want to play a big bruisery character or just be a melee person who just goes in and smacks demons in the face, we have that for you too. So we want to make sure we kind of cover all the different gameplay styles that someone would look for and not lean too heavily one way or the other. And so sometimes if we cut a mechanic, it's going to come back likely just at a different time in a different package.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we always kind of like for character archetypes, one of the big things, I know this is not necessarily what you asked, but art wise, we try to showcase how that character should feel while you're playing it in the actual art style itself. So,
Yeah.
Damascus is a great one where he's this darkness grappler. He needs to feel like Zangief from Street Fighter, where, maybe no shins or no hairy shins or whatever, but
It's all on his face instead.
yeah,
He's
but
got
it
that big,
should,
awesome beard.
but like you should Cyclone Pile Driver someone as that character and feel like you made a serious difference, and like you should be
Hmm.
able to play in a particular way. He kind of leaps around like the Hulk, which is really fun, and um that character satisfies like a brawler that is like a complicated brawler, because he deals with darkness and whatnot. So he actually, by dealing damage to enemies, he will cause darkness cards. He will actually eat darkness for breakfast. The guy literally eats darkness for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Very cool.
Whereas like Raudbjorn, who is in fact, actually I have, these, I have I do play with dolls sometimes. Got the Damascus and Raudbjorn prints right in front of me that the factory sent me. But Raudbjorn is like, he's, simple is like a couched term. Like you can play in a complicated way if you want, but
Oh
that's
yeah.
the guy that just smash. He just runs forward, hits something with his axe, and then after it's dead, he pulls the axe out of its corpse and throws it at the next thing. And that is a really fun way to play. He looks like that's exactly what he'd want to do.
Hmm.
But each character in the game is so dynamic. Like the Raudbjorn can be a super effective healer. He can be like a highly effective ranged damage character. He can be a highly effective prayer warrior, which is really interesting. And so each character, while while you might be attracted to a character for one particular aspect, like, oh, this dude looks strong and like I can smash. You may actually find gameplay wise that you tend to lean into another direction of not, Hulk smash. So
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so then David Irvine asked a question. So he gave some explainer, but I'll just go ahead and read it. Having spent a number of games winning after having a single live angel, often with 1 to 2 health left, a suspiciously high number of times, I'm getting the impression that there's an inherent balancing and catch-up mechanic, that the game gets a bit easier once not angels are alive, as there is reduced damage output. So he asks, how much do you build this into your strategy play style, angel selection, and was it a deliberate or accidental design decision? I think it was kind of a happy little accident. It feels like there are certain things that we did on purpose to balance the game around any number of angels. Playing a particular encounter will stand a chance, so that, the more angels you bring, let's like use something really simple, like each angel is dealt 2 damage. Something like that only deals 2 damage when you're playing solo with the intercessor, but it deals, because there's only 1 angel on the board, but it deals 10 damage when you have 5 angels on the board. But then with what David was alluding to was like, when, let's say, 3 of those angels are defeated, then there are only 2 angels left on the board. It's only going to deal 4 damage because it's only damaging the angels on the board. So the the question is like, what actually defeats you in Deliverance? And there are certain mechanical like I said, like Bob Ross style happy little accidents like that will or maybe like the Euphrates frogs where they will use a number of actions equal to the number of angels on the battlefield. And as they knock,
I think we lost your
I
audio.
think we lost your audio, Andrew.
you guys can hear me. Oh,
There
I'm
you are.
back to high
Yep.
quality. Okay. So so the Euphrates frogs take actions equal to number of angels in the battlefield, and as angels are defeated, they will take fewer actions, and that's actually helps players catch up. So there's this kind of hidden catch up mechanism in some of the fights that, even though it feels impossible, it's like you kind of have this something that is hidden that is helping you a little bit. But the thing, like, what things really are the things that just straight up kill you if you don't deal with them? The darkness will kill everyone.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the main things that ruins you is the darkness deck and not dealing with those cards. And then also, if you don't plan carefully, sometimes you can plan on like, all right, if I move forward, then I'm going to get defeated because all the demons are going to attack me. But that means that the boss doesn't run toward us and blast everyone. So there are certain things that players will actually do. They'll start to be like, all right, I'm at 1 HP, you're at 5. You stand a much better chance of surviving. So I'm going to run in front of you and absorb the big hit for you. And that way, Herod or some character that's going to hit for 4 or 5 damage will you'll be able to block for them. So I think that a lot of the kind of hidden catch-up mechanic are players critically thinking about how can I minimize the number of or the amount of pain that it's about to happen, so.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of conversations among the play testers where it's like, well, if I just, sack my angel and then stay on in heavenly, then I can just pray the darkness down. And like, yeah, I mean, you could do that. And yeah, as the one like running a lot of these games for these people, I'm like, I don't want to say don't do that. But then, they see the consequences of their actions, so to speak, where it's like, you decide to just go out and pray from heaven, but you're not contributing damage now. And now the fight takes longer, or you get 2 events more than you probably should have. And I will say to his point, the game is balanced on a very precarious knife's edge. And it's almost intended to make you be limping away every time. So the fact that he's surviving with like 1 to 2 angels with 1 to 2 health left, that's kind of that, at least from what I've been told over the time working with you guys, like that's kind of the spot we want them to be in when we make it. That's the difficulty level we want when we design it. So it is intentional to that point.
Yeah, and
Also
there's
pacing wise,
Yeah.
he might also just be feeling the effects of like you might have killed a lot of the demons by that point as your angels and other players were dying, so were the other fallen angels. So that might just be a balancing point you're feeling as well, where as you're running out of targets to hit and hit you back, it's going to feel a little bit easier, but that's kind of when that enrage mechanic typically will kick in for a boss,
Right.
where the boss is just going to start one-shotting people, and if you don't res and run back to start helping, there's not going to be very many targets for him to just take out.
right. Yeah, or they're blast waves that are shooting 7 damage into every angel on the battlefield, every round eventually or something. It's like that's difficult to come back from. So
He has a second part of his question too, where he's asking about.
It's a really thick, a really great question, but I think that we have so many that
it's too much
sure.
for us to answer here.
Yeah. So then let's see. Roosevelt asked a good question that we kind of addressed a little bit. Strategy elements that Council of the Fallen introduces that weren't necessarily in the base game, or that weren't necessary in the base game. So let's have one person answer this to make sure that we can get through questions. Strategy elements that Council of the Fallen introduced that weren't needed in the base game, but are needed now. Does anybody have a high opinion.
We have a few afflictions that weren't available in the base game that would
Yeah, well, I
require
guess
some
the
different like
the way that I almost take this question, it's like, we have player skill. Like this is the way I think about it is that as we
Mm.
it reminds me of a lot of like original World of Warcraft back in the day when you started raiding, nobody knew how to raid at all. And so one boss that had two monsters to control just would wipe entire raids. It's like nobody knows, why do these monsters keep attacking our healers? And, we all keep dying. Well, it turns out that you needed three tanks, one for the big guy and two for the smaller guys. And you attack the smaller guys first so that you knock them down. And then the big guy left is a lot easier to beat. That's such a simple thing nowadays. Like in World of Warcraft, you could never get away with a raid being like that. That's
Mm.
how like regular, uh minions or mobs behave. But so the same like in Deliverance, we had to start simpler and less complicated, especially in the campaign. Like we had to, help people learn how to play the game and whatnot. And as people get more skilled, they're, like if we play skirmish, I can win 100% of my games on skirmish at like nightmare and below. Like I would say like 98% of my games, if it's nightmare difficulty and below, I can win. Um, but when you get to like abyssal and infernal, even sometimes I think I play like I can always look back and say, oh, I should have done this instead or whatever, but I could lose. And sometimes I think that the in Council of the Fallen, we have so it's definitely harder than the Deliverance base game um in the campaign, not from a perspective of like it's more complex or you need to remember lots more things or anything like that, but the bosses in the campaign we have designed to be more difficult because players now understand that have played the game. Oh, I need to protect the saints as quickly as possible to reduce the flow of darkness. Well, if that's common knowledge, then maybe we need to make the saints a little bit more difficult to get to. Maybe we need to make it so that uh the darkness comes hits the board in another way that might be really hard to stop, or things like that. So that's
Yeah.
definitely some of the things that we're really thinking about. Are players that are more skilled at the game, they need to be challenged
Yeah.
without causing other players that start playing for the first time to just have it be impossible to win, right?
Mm.
So yeah, so that's I guess how I would answer that. So let's see. Euroclydon, however you say this. I would like to hear how you think about angel synergies with each other when you're designing abilities and talents, and even demon synergies for that matter. Um,
So how long do you have?
yeah,
This is
Dan,
a
you want to?
this is a really deep question.
Yeah, yeah, Dan, you have a really analytical view of talents and things like that, and during our meetings and whatnot. Um, a lot of the talent, like when we put together an angel, we'll put together 15 talents of what typically it comes from one of us,
Yeah.
like Dan, you did Juan's first iteration of all the talents, and then I came and I went and updated things, and then we looked at them together and we really went through and refined, and we have a lot of these conversations. They're like, how is this going to be beneficial if it's just Juan playing entirely solo on the battlefield, and how we'll keep it from being overpowered when there are five angels on the battlefield.
Right.
And so do you want to share some insight
Yeah.
about like angel synergies and how we think?
So with synergies, there's almost just as much emphasis on anti-synergy than there is on synergy, just because we don't want people to be doing the exact same thing with their kits. So let's say Zira, for example, we just worked on her talents, and she is not super great with a build that revolves around doing the prey action, whereas Gabriel is super good at that. And so we had a few talents that might make it a little bit easier for her to get those actions in, especially if you're playing solo, so you can make sure you can do that as part of your gameplay. But we didn't want her build to be one that would overtake Gabriel's, which is one of his core builds that people know if they played Gabriel. So it's a lot about trying to make sure that when you're making a build, it's not going to step on the toes of what makes one particular angel feel special. It's okay if they do things that synergize really well, like, oh yeah, I can pull a whole bunch of things in, and then you can knock them down type thing. But we don't want to make someone who's got like, if we have someone who's got a lot of, wide range abilities that are going to affect a lot of different characters, we don't want them to feel the exact same as Sardius, who his whole thing is he can never move the whole game and he just moves little things and he's playing an RTS the whole game. And if we make a character who's similar, we don't want it to make it feel like I should just play this instead of Sardius because this is just a new, better version of that. So we want them to work together, but not ever do the exact same thing.
Yep.
And we want them to have areas where they really shine. While we may shore up their weaknesses a little bit with certain talents, we don't want to make it so everything they do is as good as anything that someone else would do. Like they should have areas of strengths and weaknesses so that we can complement each other with like, I can do all the prayer stuff because I'm playing Gabriel. You go destroy the bad guys. I
Mhm.
got single target, you've got AoE, and that's kind of how we focus in on things is try to make angels not overtake each other and just I can do what this angel does but better.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll add to that point really quickly is we don't, I'm not sure if this was kind of the idea of the question or not, but we don't really design angels to have like specifically have a synergy with another angel, like an angel A. If you have angel A and angel B in your party, you guys are going to be able to do like certain cool things together. Like we're not really thinking like that when we're designing like, Wonder Twin powers or whatever. So I'm not sure if that was part of what you were wondering, but we don't really think about the synergies that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that certain synergies emerge like but the one thing I thought a lot about, and I'm really really glad that we spent so much time testing the original game, um because we understand so much more now about how the game works and what works for the game. But back in the day when we designed our first 9 angels, I guess 10 including the intercessor, the 9 playable angel characters, they needed to be balanced against one another, but also each one needed to feel very different. And I think that one thing that makes angels feel super different is the way they move. So Michael moves 2 spaces, which really sucks. He's not very mobile, but his mighty smite causes him to move like 3 more or whatever. And he moves a little bit and then he lays the smackdown on something. But then if and he charges in, which is really cool. But then so he moves like very quickly and easily toward enemies. But if he's trying to like, if he's defeated and revived at the heavenly gates and he's really far away, it's like Michael needs some help, guys. He's not going to be in the fight, very, very quickly. And whereas like Gabriel, one move with an end game Gabriel build, he's just going to be across the entire map. Like that guy will move 9 spaces and move someone else, 5 or whatever. Or Miko, she moves when you use a skill. So, or when you use an action. So actions and free actions, like you don't have many tools early on, but then later Miko would be slipping, sliding all throughout the battlefield with ease.
Mhm.
And it's really fun and easy to play, but no character feels like, like the other. The important thing we look at are break points. So there's this concept called break points, which would be like if an enemy had, or if a demon had like 8 health, that's a really standard number for us. 8 health, 9 health are really important numbers. If an angel can deal 8 damage in one turn, which Michael the Archangel is the only one that can do that off his very first turn. He can run towards something and destroy it before it gets a chance to act. But if let's say another character can deal 7, that character runs in and deals 7, that demon actually gets an action. So it's effectively that demon is going to deal its full damage until that break point of, you deal 7 plus is that plus 1 damage. means that you one-shot a demon. And those are numbers that we really look at. So because we spent so much time initially on the first 9 angels, we've been able to balance the next 9 angels that we've designed in a way that really makes them feel of equivalent power level, but a very unique method of like use of revealing it, so that every angel has these potential for magic moments in the battles. It's like Michael builds up and he just whomps one target. He's like, good job, I did great, and then everything jumps on him and he takes lots of damage. That's exactly what Michael wants to do. But then we have other characters that might, portal across the battlefield and form patterns on the ground to do really cool things. That is just way different. And you're almost like playing a mini game of how can I form patterns of light on the ground to do cool stuff. And that's like one area of synergy there. Things we have thought about that, one character in the base game loves light, and that is Shula. We have another character in the expansion that also loves light. We have to make sure that they do not use light in the same way. And that they don't, one other thing we think about is like, if the best way to play this character, or even maybe it's not the best way, it's just like a way to play the character and get away with it, is to put light on every space on the battlefield and just turn every single space on the entire battlefield into light. It's like, well, that's just, first of all, we don't have enough light. I would imagine some crazy person be like putting pennies on all the spaces, like, I'm doing this, and using proxy lights. But we just want to make sure that the emphasis is on kind of cleaning up. Each angel should kind of clean up their own mess in a very unique way. And so, like you said, Dan, that almost like anti-synergy, we just need to make sure every character plays uniquely. One of my favorite personal synergies is Ariel and Azrael. So Azrael is an angel that just adds afflictions everywhere. And Ariel is an angel that uses this one skill called rapid fire. So she targets a demon and deals it some damage. And then she repeats that skill. It deals it like 1 damage, but she repeats that skill a number of times equal to her discipline. So if her discipline was like 8, she could repeat that 1 damage 8 times. But if the target had an affliction, she can remove that affliction to boost that damage by 1. So she can rapid fire something 8 times. And if Azrael puts all the afflictions on that thing, she's dealing massive amounts of damage. And it feels so fun. But even more fun is Azrael can like put afflictions on everything in like an AoE, like an area of effect, like, just dealing some damage to everything. Ariel can hit each target 1 time with rapid fire, taking all the afflictions off, and it feels really cool. So it's one.
But we weren't thinking like, okay, how do we like make an angel that's going to benefit from Azrael's thing or whatever? So they were 2 like separate ideas. So they're not synergistic in that sense. It is just emergent synergy. But
if anything, we were like, is Azrael going to be broken with this combination? That's usually the check that we do, is like, are these characters going to be broken together? And that's the bigger concern, because we'll try and catch like as much of that as we can, but the players will still find combos and synergies that are stuff that we'll never predict.
Yeah, we try to make it so that there's not ever, well, I don't want to say ever, but there's not always one talent card that's better than all the other ones. Where with Ariel, actually, you, Dan, were the one that was like, we have to remove this one talent. It's called successive impacts, where if Ariel deals damage to the same target with rapid fire, you add 1 to that damage. So instead of dealing 1 damage a hit, she now deals 2, but then she can get empowered, which is 3, and then she can remove an affliction, which is 4. So if her discipline is 8, that's 32 damage for 1 courage and 1 action, and that is a little too much. So she's just rapid firing like crazy and dealing ridiculous amounts of damage. We try to make sure that that it still feels strong, but that it doesn't like elevate into ridiculousness. And so we had to remove that 1 as an example, that 1 talent card. Okay, so
we have some time for some more.
We can spend a little more time. I mean, let's give it another like 15 minutes and just see how it goes. So I'm gonna come back to Garzanesh MT. because he's asking about Angelcraft. Um,
Mm.
and so he asked a question that's interesting. Is there anything we should be asking about, but don't know enough to ask about?
In regards to Angelcraft?
It called Council of the Fallen.
Oh, okay.
Um,
You should be
I
asking
don't
about.
know.
I have one. So one of the things is some of our players are not campaign players. Some of them are like, I play the scenarios, the skirmish mode, like I want a one-shot game. And we have now more unlockables in the Council of the Fallen box than Deliverance. Deliverance had like one box that you could open. This one will have five, in essence, five with a character. There's a card pack. There's like three different unlockable boxes, and then there's the miniature box for the character. And the so I guess that'd be four unlockable boxes. But the thing that I would say you should ask that you don't know enough to ask about is, if you did not play the campaign, how could you gain access to those things? And I will say that we have thought about that.
Yeah.
And for those players that are not campaign players, we have a fix for you. And
Yeah.
so that's all that I'm willing to say about that. But that's maybe a good answer to that question.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's transition for fun to, well, I don't know, let's talk about the story writing. So our boogie Discord handle, is there a sample of the story writing that you can share with us so we can see the improvement from the base game? Will our actions change any gameplay elements as we progress through the campaign? And Adam, this is probably one for you. I'm gonna use the bathroom, but you go ahead.
Yeah, there's we will be sharing a sample in the update that's, I think it's going to be shared later today, I think, the Kickstarter update.
I think if you're seeing this video, you'll see the sample with it.
Yeah, okay. So yes, there will be a sample. In my little update portion, my little corner in the Deliverance update, you'll see a sample of the revision of one of the missions. So there would be a little bit of a spoiler alert there, but if you want to go in and kind of see a first draft of kind of how we're expanding a little bit and making
That's for the base game, right?
For the base game, yes. We'll have that. This next question, will our actions change any gameplay elements as we progress through the campaign? So I think really what, like, this question is more talking about our it's 3 p.m. so my brain is slowing down, so someone else will have to finish, but I think you guys know what he's asking about.
It's
So
that is the case in the
In the
Council of the
expansion.
Fallen. Yes.
Yeah.
So in the Council of the Fallen, your actions have heavily implications to the story elements. For the
not in the base game, no.
In the base game, it is a revamp of the story and the way the story is written.
Yeah.
But as far as the way it's, overall being told, it should be very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it'll be the same campaign with maybe just a more fleshed out story in the base game. Like it's just remastered. Think of it that way. Like
We make sure to add 5 players in there.
Yeah.
Actually, there are 2 missions that have been updated. So 2
Yeah.
missions in particular have been increased in difficulty, and that's all you're gonna get.
But the Council of the Fallen will have a kind of branching paths and different things that we've worked on to make that work. So
yeah, your choices are going to matter. You're going to want to play
your choices will
the
matter.
campaign. There will be portions of the campaign that's locked out to you depending on what you choose, and portions of it that you will have to go back to and play to see what's happening with these other characters. So it's really interesting how we're doing that.
Awesome. So, okay, now Mike Alger asks, he'd love to hear about what our favorite solo team is. And he asked for the best strategy that we use with them against each prince. Let's talk about, like, what's your favorite, like, combo of 2 angels? If you were to solo, or an intercessor is one of them. So, like, your favorite way to play Deliverance. if you had to solo it or just play with one other?
Yeah. Right now with the changes or just with base game?
Let's say base game for now.
Oh, okay, okay. I have a really fun combo that I have for the expansion, but I
No,
guess
you
we'll
can
save
name
that
it.
for
You
later.
can say that too.
Okay, well there's a new
We'll leave
talent
it
that
open to whatever you want to, however you want to answer it.
okay. Well, there's a new talent that we're adding to Talu that gives him access to Squall. And I think his ability to use that as the Windwalker paired with Pirta, this like ice mage, is really, really cool. So that's a really fun one. But the one that I always go back to, because I'm a very like lore heavy. I want the feeling and emotion of what's going on. I love playing Talu and Miko. Just growing up in like a very I'm Vietnamese and Chinese and Filipino, so very Asian influenced household. Growing up in Hawaii, that fantasy of like these two martial artists just going at it is always something I love playing. That's my go-to.
That's awesome. What about you, Adam?
Um, I like Michael and Shula
Mm,
as a combination. No particular reason. I just feel very comfortable. I played Shula from the beginning. My favorite angel. I'm really when I play tactical games or games in general, I like to get to a point to where it's all kind of free flowing,
Mhm.
like it's still like moving, like doing everything, and I'm so familiar and confident with those two angels together. Like it's kind of almost like you're typing on the keyboard without looking at your fingers, and
Oh,
that's what I like. So
yeah,
those are the two that I go to.
awesome. What about you, Dan?
For going base game, I think there's a lot of synergy with having someone who's very good at praying. So Gabriel plus pretty much anyone in the game is always good. But if you're going for like a more just direct high synergy, going a support build with Michael and going his healer build where he gives courage, and then you have that as a funneler into something like a Christine build that just does massive AoE. So every turn Michael does two heals to make it so she's got two courage, and every turn then she can just stab twice and blow
Let her hit.
everything up.
yeah.
It's pretty powerful use of your resources.
For myself, I am a huge fan of the intercessor. When I'm soloing, I will play with the intercessor. I played all, the combinations of the angels, and I really enjoy. So what I'll try to do, like if I'm playing with my wife, we'll pick. I'll always pick it. I'll always let her pick first, and then I'm like, okay, what's left? I want to just see what's available, and then I'll pick an angel that I'm like not, like that are not my go-tos. I'm like, what angel can I pick that will be a different experience that I maybe haven't had in a long time or whatever. And so characters like Sardius or Miko or Taolu are kind of on the top of that list, like unorthodox angels that I usually don't pick first. But when I want to win, like if I'm soloing and I'm playing infernal difficulty, skirmish, or whatever, then I have two go-tos. One is Azrael Intercessor, because Azrael is my favorite angel. It's a hard angel to get right or to play correctly at high difficulty. And that's why I really, really enjoy Azrael. You can melt faces off with that character. But what's so cool is like positioning correctly for like a really amazing locust swarm, and the intercessor can help you help shore up some of Azrael's weaknesses because he's rather weak on his own, but with the intercessor's little extra help, that little extra courage and whatnot, you can do some really ridiculous things as Azrael, like locust swarm 3 times on your turn. Super fun. And then or final plague for 177 damage. It's fun. But then the other one is Gabriel Intercessor. Like if I really, really want to win, that's
Yeah.
Gabriel, especially if I can get into that prayer warrior build where I'm drawing 11 prayer cards a turn or something. That is a really fun way to play. So
Prayer cards are so
um,
strong.
yeah. So, and I think actually I have a game of Gabriel plus the Intercessor on Nightmare difficulty, I think, that I did on the YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that.
I thought it was infernal difficulty.
Oh, maybe it was. Maybe it
Yeah,
was.
it was that was like your
Yeah.
big
Yeah. So, I died at the end. I was so close. So close. Okay. So then let's see. we have a lot of really great questions. So we have Boanerges asked about angel synergy. There are a couple of questions left, but I really want to get to this one. Czar's Discord handle asked, out of all the things you've been polishing over the past month, what's one thing you're really glad didn't go to print in its version a month ago?
Uh,
Art. So many things with art. There's so many things where I'll just look at a painting a month later, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to fix that little spot there. And then just have time to polish it up and get those second, third, and fourth glances on things, and then do those final passes. We did a full final pass on all the angels, cleaning all those paintings up, all of the demons, cleaning up all those paintings, and then we did the
I've got
bosses as
one
well.
thing related to art that I'd love you to talk about. The gems on the princes.
Yeah.
Talk about that because that's pretty recent.
Yeah, so it's a large part of the storyline, so I won't talk about it too much as far as that's concerned, but there are these gems that were given to certain characters within the game. And when that story element got fleshed out a bit more, I went back into the bosses to make it so that the art would include those gems so that you could kind of see more of the story captured in the art instead of just, in isolation, these two things happen separately type things. Like the storyline should match the art as close as possible. And so as the story gets fleshed out, having the availability to go in and change those things to match has been really nice for sure.
There's one other thing that's like my mind was blown when you did this, which was one of the iconic characters in the game that players will see. The windows in the background of that character's art are actually, you can see in one of the buildings, there's an art piece that features a building very prominently that you guys will see when you open the box. You can see those windows in the side of that building. So you can see, if you could like x-ray vision through to that room, you would see the room that this character is standing in. And I just thought that was so cool. The level of depth in the art. It's like those windows are the same shape and everything and stained glass style as the other windows behind this character. So like where that character's standing is in the game. And that was something that you added like within the last month that just totally exploded my mind.
mhm.
One of those
So
things that most people will never notice or pick up on, but it's there and it made me smile. So,
yeah,
Yeah, us
yeah.
too.
So
Uh, I mean, I think each one of us will just say, the thing that we're most working on, it's like
Right.
I'm just glad that I got that, everything a month ago was at that 80% mark where it's like I am proud of where it's at. I could be I'd be okay with people seeing it in the state that it's in and playing it in the state that it's in. But now that we've had that extra month and we've been able to put that extra, 10, 15%, 20% onto it, it's like this is so much better than where it was. And it's grown and it's developed and it's changed. It's been playtest, it's been rewritten, it's been re-arted in whichever form or fashion that it's just so much better in the state that it's in, having that extra time.
that's awesome. Yeah. So let's see. Let's shotgun approach quickly answer the last couple of questions so that we can get them all in. Explain Deliverance like I'm 5.
I think Angel Smash is probably the right
Angel
the right
Angel Smash.
Yeah.
thing there. Just Angel Smash, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're some really awesome heavenly angels that are protecting the people and fighting these bad demons.
Awesome. Okay, so then Nightingale asked, I'm a little nervous of being overwhelmed with all the new mechanics in the expansion and their backwards compatibility to the base game. He's asking about, is it going to be overwhelming?
No.
I feel like one thing that I've come to appreciate is that certain characters really emphasize one particular mechanic. So if you play Juan, you will need to think about incense and how you place that on the battlefield. But if you're not playing him, then that's something that you just don't need to think about, really. You may have a prayer card or another effect that places incense somehow, but it's really, really simple and straightforward. Same thing with Pirta and Squall. Like Squall is an ability that, or a status effect you place in between two spaces, and if you move through it, it boosts your movement. Pirta actually has this extra added effect of if she calculates range through it. So basically, if she shoots her ice lances through her squalls, she deals more damage. It like increases the velocity of the ice spike or whatever. And that is like per character. So what I've always appreciated about Deliverance is that all the things that you need to know about the game, other than like how to operate, which is on the quick reference card, and what the afflictions and what the status effects do. Again, it's on the quick reference card. As long as you know like how the general round flows from playing once, all you need to pay attention to is like what your character card, and that's it. It's like your character. Don't need to worry about what everyone else is doing. And in fact, that's one of my favorite things about the game. Is like there's the quarterback or like the alpha gamer that always tells everyone what to do. they they're never going to understand your character as well as you do, just because it's right in front of you all the time. Like I have 2 courage, that ability costs 2 courage. That's an option. Whereas the alpha gamer is like, I need you to kill these guys or whatever. I need you to heal me. I need you to, it's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's the best way to spend my turn. I hear that all the time, and so it really is simplified because you just have to look at your character card.
And one thing I'll add to that, we kind of touched on it briefly with the Raphael thing, where we're like, we don't want to add renew now because we have incense, where we already added a new heal mechanic. So we're trying to not put too many things that are similar into the game at once so that it's not confusing what's doing what. So we actually had Blight at one point being on the map tiles, but we stopped doing that because we already have incense on the map tiles and squalls, and like we just don't want to overload the amount that's going on to the map all in one expansion. So we're trying to pace things out throughout different expansions and games so that we don't overload into a single type of way that the players deal with something. So same with darkness cards. We don't want to overload, different ways players now can deal with the darkness cards. Admail has a new mechanic that he can do it. We don't want to just go all in where there's like now 15 new ways to deal with darkness cards, or 15 new things on the map, or 15 new ways to heal. Just incrementally adding one thing or two things to each different type of piece in the game makes it so it's not too overwhelming with the expansion.
Right.
Admail is Damascus, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not a secret angel.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a secret angel
Sorry.
you haven't heard about.
Names
Maybe
change.
we'll have to
More
edit
things
that
that
one
change.
out.
We just Admail is, it's funny. It's like a little Easter egg for people that may never know, but Damascus is the cover art angel's name. But before we had a name, we were like just Admail, just typing, basically face rolled on the keyboard and add EL at the end. And that was his name for probably like one
Good
year.
amount of time.
It was a long time.
It was a
long
time.
enough that I'm still calling him that to this day.
Yeah. So
When
I've
it was
called him
being
that a couple
painted, he was
times.
that.
And we
So it's all the
probably,
name.
like, none of us probably even realized that, that was like a mistake. Like, oh yeah, add mail. Yeah, just,
that's funny.
oh
I
wait,
only know
no,
because
that's
the
Damascus.
playtesters always catch me for saying the wrong
Yeah,
things.
probably. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Like, who are you
So,
talking
funny.
about? What Admail? He has to go this way. He's like, you mean Damascus? Yes, Damascus.
Oh, that's great.
So
one thing I do
go
want to
ahead.
add before we go on to the next one is the balancing strategies. We touched on it, I think, a couple updates ago, but the power creep is something that we are very mindful of. We never want to make new angels that are too overpowered and complex, and we want to, as a part of the base game angels getting extra talents to use blight and gloom and squall. We want to make sure that they're also maintaining that balance as well. So that nice balance is something we're always keeping in mind to make sure nobody's ever swinging too far out of balance where, well, I'm never going to play the base game now because I have the expansion angels. We want you to play the base game. The base game angels are awesome.
Yeah. And part of the way that we do that we encourage, we understand that it's impossible to avoid scope creep or not scope creep, power creep. Impossible to completely avoid it. And so our attempt to help other angels match, just simply having access to more boons or afflictions are going to cause benefits. But two things that we're doing for that. Number one is we're adding new talent cards over time to the existing angels. So all the base game angels get another level 1, level 2, and level 3 talent that they can leverage that has typically some involvement with the new mechanics, or maybe helps allows them to do something that they really wanted and whatnot, gives them new access to new abilities and makes them feel fresh. And then another thing is we actually patch our game. So video games, it's very common, in a video game, if something's too strong, you can patch it and like reduce the damage value or reduce the amount of critical damage that this particular skill does, etc. But with a board game, once it's printed, that's it. But what we do is we, during expansion campaigns and whatnot, if something needs to be amended, just because it was too weak in particular, sometimes too strong, but rare, it's rare that we would change something that we felt was too strong. Things that are too weak, we try to shore up to bring them in line with other skills, because, bottom line is that the characters that we design today are going to have more useful talents as a general rule than the very first characters we designed, because we didn't know that this would be too strong or too weak or whatever. And so we're actually updating, I think it's like 38 cards that are of varying angels, or maybe it's 28, that we felt like were, for the most part, these were like not very useful, that they were clearly the worst option of the talents at that level that you could pick from. Or maybe they didn't do things that were good, or maybe they caused some sort of game breaking ability that nobody's realized yet. So
Still upset about that.
yeah. So we definitely are kind of active in the development of Deliverance, and so from that perspective, to keep things balanced. Okay, Dan, I have a question for you. Actually, Northern Vesuvius asked, what's your favorite go-to snack when designing and playtesting?
Oh my gosh, you already know.
I just want the world to know.
You get a spoonful of peanut butter, you take a little tiny piece of dark chocolate and stick it in there, and you're good. You got so much protein.
That's amazing.
That's it. That's all you need.
Get
My
swole
Tuesday
from...
meeting lunch. And then you just have like some type of green juice or something to go with it for your vitamins, and
That's
And
amazing.
that has turned into like a phrase that we all say to each other if it's like a really heavy dev and design day where we're not going to step away from our desk. It's like, it's a peanut butter and chocolate day.
Peanut butter
sure
chocolate.
is.
Yep.
That's so
Peanut butter
funny.
and chocolate day.
I love it. Love it. For me, I always have this Captain America blender bottle with Spark inside it. And that's probably why I had to use the bathroom while we were live on stream, is because I can't get enough of this. So Spark is kind of like a caffeine with vitamins drink. It's like a thing I love.
Yeah.
So yeah. So okay, then we had another question, actually a couple of questions related to the music. So the
Yeah.
music tracks. So first of all, so any new tracks that get you really hyped up and more immersed, especially when playing an angel specific track. I'm going to actually split this into two questions. So there's one asking for an update on the music, and then there's something that I'd like to ask you guys. What do you listen to while working on Deliverance?
Which one do you want to answer first?
Let's do the latter question that I just asked first.
Okay. I actually just had this conversation with Dan a couple days ago. It's like we both listen to lo-fi, a lot of lo-fi. If you look in Discord, on my name, sometimes you'll see it says like vibing and designing. You'll see what I'm listening to there. It's a lot of lo-fi, like medieval lo-fi, Legend of Zelda lo-fi. Um, it's actually a little, for me at least, it's hard to listen to things with words in it while I'm designing because I'm like trying to type up a demon skill or an angel skill. I'm like blah 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 blah, and then I'd say type in something about what's going on with the song. I'm like, oh wait, I shouldn't have said type that. It doesn't go there. So lots of instrumental lo-fi music for me.
Amazing. I
For me, it depends
listen.
on. Oh, you go ahead first.
I was just gonna piggyback and say I listen to Zelda and chill. Like if I
Mm.
really need to, which is a lo-fi Zelda music, if I really need to, like every single update that I write, if I need to sit down for like 6 hours and write something and edit and whatever, it's Zelda lo-fi every single time. And if that 1, 2, and 3, the album 1, 2, and 3, if those things expire and it goes to something else, my brain hears that it's not Zelda, and then I go back and just play it over again.
Right now, I don't really listen to music so much when I'm doing the writing because I can't really. I just have to be full, and I'll listen to white noise. I know that's kind of lame right now, but when I wasn't doing that and I was listening to music when I'm designing, it was just metal. Like Christian metal is my favorite genre of music. I'm like the dark horse, I guess, of the group here.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll be listening to when I get a chance. I like
Awesome.
Jacob Cecil, our friend, who works with Next Level Web. We're kind of in the same boat. We both like our metal and talk about it, and no one else cares, or so we're like. But yeah,
That's
my
awesome.
favorite metal band as of right now is a band called Holy Name, which is really good. If you like metal at all, you should check them out. But
Very cool.
that's the commercial. That's all I'll say.
Heck yeah.
It depends on the phase of art that I'm in. So if I'm doing something where I have to think, like I'm sketching or designing or concepting, then I have to have something without words, kind of like what Chaz was saying. So that way my
Yeah.
brain can keep on the track that it's going.
Hmm.
And after I get it to like that 50% mark where I figured out the value structures, I figured out the overall composition, everything's where it needs to be, anatomy's fixed and all that kind of stuff, then I can just turn on a mix of whatever I want. And a lot of times I will kind of tailor it to what I'm painting. So if I'm painting, Tortulas, for example, I had deep cello mix going where it just, was some dark vibe type thing going. But
Yeah.
a lot of it depends on what phase of the process I'm in so that my
Yeah.
brain gets in the right zone.
Yeah. That's awesome. Every once in a while, I'll put on League of Legends, like typically Los Ratones, some just anything that Los Ratones are playing, and the way that they cut their YouTube videos, it's so funny just to listen to these 5 or 6 degenerate humans talking about this game that I enjoy, League of Legends. I don't even play it anymore. I just watch, as a fan. But that's something that I'll have on the background every once in a while. Like if I'm doing really heavy stuff where I have to think creatively, then I can't listen to that. But if
Yeah.
I'm doing something that doesn't require creative thought, but just like you said, Dan, all the creative thoughts done, now it's just time to hammer it out. Like we have the scenario book is in its designed state. We just got that. So I need to go through and make sure typos and updated rules text are in each scenario times 26. So I need to
27.
or yeah, 27. Yeah. So I need to just I'll listen to something, and as I go through each one, feels like I'm almost on rails, and it's just the number of hours to complete a task won't change
Right.
based on the music at that point.
Yeah, right now I've been doing a lot of I found a album called Dark Fantasy Lo-Fi. So it's like has music from like Elden Ring and Skyrim and that like kind of like 80s dark fantasy style. But the one my wife always laughs at me about she laughs at me and she says that's really creepy. Is like liminal space music, like
Mm,
dreamcore music where it's like
mm,
very like eerie kind of like
that's
and
funny.
I don't know why. I really like liminal space, like back rooms at like an empty
Like
amusement
BioShock.
park. No, well, a liminal space is kind of like a really weird, like an empty place that's supposed to be filled. So like an empty amusement park or like
Like an
when people,
abandoned mall
yeah,
or something
exactly,
like.
like abandoned mall. And so I'll like be playing that on a video. She's like, "What are you watching and listening to?" It's like, "Oh, it's like creepy liminal space music." She's like, "Why do you like that?"
It's so funny. It's like white noise. Just
Yeah, yeah.
black noise.
Rendering
Um
time audiobooks is my favorite. When I
Yeah.
don't have to think, audiobook
mhm.
is
Hmm.
the best.
I
Yeah.
listened to a great someone did a reading of the Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring, and
Andy
they were
Circus.
reading it in different voices, and they had the music from the movie playing in the background and sound effects.
That's
And
Yeah.
cool.
it was like it was really amazing. I found it on archive.org. It wasn't that one that you're talking about, but
Okay.
it was like an amateur thing,
Yeah.
and it was really good, and that was really fun. So I
That's
might listen
awesome.
to that again. But
Okay, so then last significant question. Now you guys can bring one up if I missed any, but Czars, Northern Vesuvius, or some others that brought up the um the music tracks that we unlocked during our crowdfunding campaign. We released one, which was the Azrael track. And we were asking about there were are there any updates on how the music tracks are going, and if one more will be teased, sampled, or released sometime this year. We definitely will release. I have like 5 of them finished, and others that so the way that it works is we figure out uh so Daniel, our our awesome composer, will put together so we'll kind of base a song or a track on a character. So we have like the meddling imps, for example, which is really fun. And then he'll imagine like what types of things would go on during meddling imps, and it's like goblin noises or goblins talking and singing, and banging on pots and pans, and other like I want to say there's like a not a cello, but like what's the big one? You know, the big
Bass.
the bass cello, or it's just a bass. Those sounds are mixed together, and what we'll do is we'll create like individual sections of like the imps, you know, singing, laughing, talking, spilling drinks and things like that. And we'll do like 5 different sections of that music, of that sound. Then we'll do 5 different sections of bass, which would be like melody and beautiful, and then a little bit dissonant, and that, you know, for the imp. And then we'll do the pots and pans. So we may have like a big pot that is almost like a, you know, like a bass drum or something, like rhythm. And, you know, there's like bump, 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 or something like, you know, and then others that are a little bit more crazy, you know, like banging on all the pots that are hanging up. And then we'll do multiple versions of each of those. And then we use this really cool program that he has to combine them in interesting ways. So it'll kind of fade in the imps talking, and then fade in something, and then fade out the imps talking, and it creates like a 3-minute track. And that is what I use to say, do we like this? Does this need to change? And you know, whatnot. And then after we've done that, that's like kind of the master sample for me, almost like the master, you know, miniature mold here. But then he'll take that and expand it into a 15-minute track. And so we have 5 tracks that are 15 minutes each, and we have a couple of others that are you know, like actually I'll say my favorite track so far is just 3 minutes. Let me actually find it so that I can know for certain. Where are we at? It's called The Flame of God. So it's the Uriel track. It's just The Flame of God. It is the coolest sounding track. I want to listen to it all the time. And it's only 3 minutes, so it's incredible. So I can release them, but you know, I don't want to release them too early. But you're right, I should probably release another one. So
Sounds good.
I don't know
I
if you
have a
guys have any thoughts.
question
Yeah.
in regards to that. Since we're getting some pretty epically mastered music and soundtracks, and with the work that Adam and you are doing on the story, making this very immersive story with characters that are growing and changing, and we're getting even, forgive me if I'm not supposed to say this, but like interlude sections in the expansion where it's like just story, where you have like a good portion of it where it's just story. Is there a possibility of there being like, I don't know what I think it's called, like foreteller,
A
where it's
Deliverance
like
movie, you mean? Like a cinematic release? You
well,
know?
that too, but more so like a board game companion where like you can listen to the story being told by somebody professionally with music accompanying it in between. Is that something that you would consider or have considered or have thrown out?
Yeah, it is something that I've considered, and I really love how Sky Kingdom Games does that with Isofarian Guard, and Gloomhaven and Frosthaven do that, and Foreteller's a pretty cool company that's kind of leading in that area. But actually, where I think I'd like to go is, it just feels like Deliverance is as a concept and an intellectual property is so awesome that it can expand into even other areas that are outside of the board game space. And so I asked one of the things that I am comfortable sharing, because we haven't like started on it, but it's kind of an area of testing and teasing. How much do people love the story? Do we need to tell more of it? Is what I wonder. And the other it was a couple weeks ago, right, Adam? I asked you a question. What was it?
Uh, it was, what would you think about a Deliverance novella or novel? Right? Is
Mm.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. What was your
Yeah.
response? What was your response?
My response was, yeah, let's do it.
It was like, well, if it was a year ago, I don't think I
Oh,
could.
yeah, yeah. If it
You've
was
been
a
in a
year
lot of
ago,
writing.
probably not. But now I think I could do it
Yeah.
if that's something that you want to do, definitely.
Yeah, it's something that I've been thinking a lot about because it just, first of all, your writing is like so engaging. Everything that I read, it's like I want to know more about that place or whatever. And so, it's
All right, thank you.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. So we'll share a writing sample of one of the redone campaign missions from the base game in this update. So look out for that. But it's something that I've been really thinking about. We have a video game that we've been working on. We've got the board game arena adaptation that we finished, and the video game is just a concept still, but I have a team that will be designing it, and hopefully we'll get around to starting it this year is what I'd really like. But something that I'd really like to see exist in greater scope. If only I had $50 million, it'd be great. Do all the things
If
that
only.
yeah. But I've always looked at Deliverance as something that when I started the project, I thought, I could try to spend money on Facebook ads and just getting the word out there. But if it's not good enough for people to hear about the idea and say, that's interesting, I want to follow along on its own without paying for ads, then it's just maybe the market doesn't want it, and it's not like I had enough money to just do whatever I wanted at the time, and like I went like 60 grand into debt to make the first campaign happen, and praise the Lord, we've raised enough to pay off the debt right after the Kickstarter campaign and actually make a thing. But it's one of those things that I feel like the growth of this product is justified by people wanting it, right?
Mhm.
And so people came out in droves and really showed they would pay $150 or $260 for the expansion content or all the gameplay content. And they were willing to do that. And it's like, man, the story and everything as it develops, as when after the game releases and how far it goes and whatnot. I think that the sky's the limit, all of course, based on how much people show that they really want it, and so
Mm.
I'm really looking forward to what the future of Deliverance. And we're definitely going to be making more Deliverance after this expansion releases. And just I don't know, one step at a time. Maybe we'll work on novels or whatever. It just depends on what people want. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank
Or
you
or
guys.
TV shows.
Yeah, TV. Yeah, my Netflix special's coming. Yeah,
Audible narrated novella.
that's right.
Mhm.
6 seasons in a movie. So
Could
all
partner
right,
with Angel
guys.
Studio.
It's been, what has it been, like almost 2 hours we've been recording. And so hopefully I'll definitely make sure to timestamp this for folks so that they can get what they want. But we'll sign out, and thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
See you later.